Welcome to the Whiskey Tourist. I'm Eric.
And I'm Gabe.
We're two friends exploring the world through whiskey, one pour at a time.
Each episode will take you to new destinations, uncover local whiskey culture, and share the flavors, traditions, and people that make every place unique.
So grab a glass, pack your curiosity, and come along for the ride. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. And today we're getting into the third part of our three-part series on Louisville, and we're going to be looking at Louisville beyond bourbon. So experiences outside of just your typical distilleries and distillery tours and whiskey-centric kind of tours, and still whiskey connected, but looking at things like, hotels and museums and other attractions and things around the city, other things to do. So with that, let's jump right in. And the first stop, of course, in getting to and from, obviously, Louisville, unless you're driving, is going to be the airport. And just wanted to jump in first and say the first thing you're going to want to do is check for events and festivals when you're planning your trip, because you want to avoid high traffic times if you can, unless that's when you're planning to go for one of these events. And that's mainly because it's a small airport. It's two concourses, basically. I mean, you blink and you missed it, which is good and bad, right? So it's easy to navigate when you're trying to get around, but not so great during high traffic events when you might have a lot of people trying to use that limited space and the limited security lanes and everything.
Yeah, and so depending where you're
Mhm.
coming from,
Mhm.
because I come from the DC area. The last time I flew to Louisville was from DCA, Reagan National. American Airlines flew into Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport, direct flight. On a prior trip, I did fly Southwest from Baltimore. Depending on when you go, depending where you are, you might find good nonstop flights going there. And as Eric mentioned, a quick tip is to check airline schedules and pricings. In my area, sometimes Baltimore offers better deals than DCA. And at the Louisville airport, one of the things that I love there is their mini bars and their verbal welcome vibe on their terminals. The airport, as you mentioned, is small, but it's well organized. So it's ideal for getting into town quickly.
Yep, absolutely. And, if you keep an eye out, a lot of times, if you live close to a hub for one of the airlines, sometimes you can find pretty good deals on those direct flights. I use a couple of different apps or websites that track those kinds of deals. So you can set up an alert. I set one up on going.com. I use that for a number of different trips. And you say, that do you want to put in a time frame or whenever, and you put in your destinations and it emails you whenever there's a deal. So yeah, so great tip there, Gabe. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and if you're timing your trip, periods mean earlier bookings on flights
Mhm.
and hotel deals as well.
Yeah. So getting out of the airport. So when you're there, there's a few taxis. They're all metered, so you can just roll out, hop in a taxi. They all take credit cards. I guess most modes of transportation now are almost all credit card. And then Ubers and Lyfts, which are very plentiful, easy to get around. They're actually lined up waiting. Just kind of, you can get an Uber or Lyft straight from the airport, like they know they're going to get a fare, so they just kind of hang out there. If you go into the baggage claim, and it's a very small, I think it's got like 4 carousels. You can see all of them at one shot. So once you get down, and if you go to the far end of the terminal, and it's sort of like on the end of the terminal there, and you walk right out, and it's super easy to pick them up. Short trip in, I think it took us 15 minutes, I think, from the airport into downtown
To
Louisville.
downtown
Yeah,
Louisville. Yep, that's
yeah.
right.
So super easy.
And you'll probably stay in downtown somewhere in a hotel,
Mhm.
or probably if you're going in a group, it might be
Mhm.
a good thing to check your Airbnbs. I remember not the last time, but the previous time that I went with Milagros with my significant other, we did check into an Airbnb, which was right there on
Mhm.
downtown. This time we did go to a
Mhm.
hotel, so just check on what's available and what has a good deal.
Yeah, I remember your Airbnb was super convenient, like, right there on close to, was it on 4th Street or 5th Street? It's somewhere right
Yep,
downtown. It was
yep,
very convenient. Yeah, and I think we had some of our buddies stayed at Airbnb this last trip too,
yep,
so, yeah.
yep.
Also, car rentals. So we didn't do it this time. On a previous trip, I did pick up a car rental when I was quote unquote flying solo. And there are on premise at the airport car rental, all your major car rentals. So you don't have to take a shuttle off premise. So it's right there if you wanted to pick up a car rental. I don't recommend it if you're going to be hitting a lot of distilleries or if you're going to be doing a lot of sampling,
Yeah.
but there were a couple that I wanted to at least go visit, and so I went light on the samples that day, but yeah, so super easy to pick up transportation when you're there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Just check our previous episodes when we were talking about going into the different distilleries, either in town in Louisville or just
Mhm,
going outside of Louisville. In my experience, it's better, in our experience anyway,
mhm,
if you're gonna be enjoying the sampling and drinking a little bit more,
mhm.
it's probably better just to go in a tour or probably going in Uber.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, moving into the city, so we get out of the airport, and we're headed into town and moving on to hotels. So, why don't we start with the hotel that we stayed at this most recent trip, the Hotel
Yep.
Bourbon, I
Yeah, yeah,
believe.
yeah.
They're trying to be cute with the name, a little
Yeah,
French, a little bourbon. Yeah.
yeah. So we stayed at the Hotel Bourbon, which is a newish
Mhm,
boutique hotel in downtown Louisville. It's part of the Hilton, one of the Hilton's
mhm,
collection, right? It just opened, I believe, this year in 2025. And the name Bourbon in French means a good bet or a good time,
mhm.
which is very fitting for this city and the bourbon culture, of course.
And the hotel as well. It was a very nice hotel. Yeah, it's one of the Hilton Curio properties, one of their kind of boutique properties. Very nice, very luxe rooms, but you could tell they were still working out a few kinks. They were
Yep.
like brand spanking new when we were there. I think they had just opened maybe man, I can't remember. It wasn't long before we went, but absolutely fantastic stay.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
My room was a king size. It wasn't a suite or anything like that.
Mhm.
But the standout for me was the full in-room bar. Well, of course, bourbon. Of course, you have gin, you have your vodka, your tequilas, mixers, and all the trimmings. The lobby and the public areas are all sleek, modern, yet warm, I'd say. And the staff were very courteous,
Mhm.
even with their few kinks here
Mhm.
and there. And for someone traveling with a partner who
Mhm.
may be less interested in bourbon or less interested in the drinking culture there, this hotel hits, I think, a nice balance. Being upscale, comfortable, within walking distance to
Mhm.
Whiskey Row, but also with plenty non-bourbon things to enjoy.
It was very I mean, very luxe, like the lobby, very trendy. I love, all the leather and fur. Like it was very, I don't know, very, very cushy, I guess. But and then the rooms, like those standard rooms
Yep.
would be what you would consider, a luxe room like at a lot of other hotels. Like the full bar, I love that. You mentioned that. Yeah, complete with the shaker and everything, like and full bottles. And did you notice they had their own collaboration with Old Forester? They had their
Oh, yeah,
own
I saw that.
house brand, yeah,
Yep,
house
yep.
line. So that was yeah, I love those rooms and like the little like the iPad controls for stuff and all that. That was super cool. Yeah.
I didn't get to go to
Mhm,
their gym, but I know they do
mhm,
have a gym.
mhm.
They do have a pool on top, on the rooftop, where they also have a bar.
Yes.
So that's nice. Very, very nice. Nice views of the city.
Mhm,
Nice. It's they have a nice pool, nice size
mhm.
pool, and they also have a hot tub right there. You can take your drink to the hot tub
Yeah.
or to the pool. They also have a restaurant
Mhm.
down in the lobby area where you can get either your breakfast. We did get breakfast there one day, and then dinner as well, right?
Yeah. Yes. I had dinner there one night. I tell you that the steakhouse there is fantastic.
Yep. Yep.
Everything was just so perfect attention to detail. We had a large group, so all the food came out like, at the right times. Everything was excellent. I mean, it's what you would call a typical steakhouse. So
Yep.
you're looking for steak, but it was done very, very well. The whole experience was great. And I will say the other thing about that rooftop that you mentioned, like that hot tub is an excellent place to end the day if you've been out. like hitting distilleries or doing tastings. That's a nice
Oh,
to
yes.
lounge. Yeah, yeah. And I know we were talking about this earlier too. They're pet friendly.
Oh, yes.
We
Yep,
had somebody with us that had a pup, and so if you're traveling with your puppers, this is also a great option. They have pet friendly rooms, pet friendly options here.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So, Eric, you've stayed at a few other hotels in Louisville, or at least one, I remember.
Mhm,
So, what's your, I guess, go-to comfort after a long day
mhm,
of sightseeing
mhm,
or distillery tours? I know that you mentioned right now going into a hot tub in our last hotel here in the Bourbon. That was
mhm,
excellent.
mhm,
But maybe in your experience in another hotel, maybe dining,
mhm,
unwinding, maybe watching a ball game, what do you
mhm.
look for?
So I love a good hotel bar, and I
Yep.
know I've said this before many times. I'll say the bar they had at the place we stayed this time around was good, but the last place I stayed before this, oh, and before we get to that, I will say, for Hotel Bourbon, it's kind of their Hilton's answer to the Distal Hotel, which is
Oh,
the Marriott
yes.
boutique property right off of Whiskey Row. But from what I've seen, the pictures I've seen, I think the one we stayed at, the Hilton property, is a little nicer than the Marriott property. But if anybody listening has stayed at the Distal, by all means, please let me know. I would love to hear about it, and we may have to make a visit there on our next trip out because I've heard good things about it. I think the Hilton property may just be a touch nicer.
Well, the thing with the Distel Hotel also,
Mhm,
it's been there
mhm,
for some years. It's also modern boutique
mhm,
hotel.
mhm,
It's close to the convention center, so
mhm.
depending on why you are in Louisville, it might
Yeah.
be a good thing to stay there. But ours, the
Mhm,
Bourbon, even
mhm,
though it's not right there on Whiskey Road, is
mhm.
just one block from it. So,
Yeah, yeah. So not far at
yeah.
all. But yeah, the last place that I stayed, the Seelbach Hotel, which so for the placement where the Seelbach is, this is a very old school hotel. It opened in 1905 originally, and I'm a sucker for old hotels. I love all those classic architecture, all the sort of gilded, ceilings and all that kind of stuff. Uh, I think they're gorgeous. I love all the history that goes with it. But it originally opened in 1905. It's another Hilton property. I'm a Hilton guy usually. I do a few other chains and boutique hotels, but we do a lot of Hilton properties just because there's so many of them. So the hotel has a long history too, and it's got a couple of things. So one, they have a really nice bar, which is a little bit of I say new bar at the street level. And their bar, I mean, they have an incredible selection of bourbons as you would expect in Louisville. But yeah, love a great hotel bar. One of my favorite things, because especially if I'm traveling alone, my go-to is like I'll go perch up at the bar and I'll have dinner at the hotel bar, talk to the bartender, whoever's around, make friends. Love to chat folks up. But they have a great bar there, and then they also have the Rathskeller, which is, and they use it for events now, but before it was kind of at a bar event hall kind of thing. And that's on the lower level. And that used to be a favorite haunt of like F. Scott Fitzgerald and Al Capone when he would come down, like Al Capone would come down and make his liquor runs down to Kentucky, during Prohibition. He would often stay, he would go play cards and frequent the bar there, which is kind of cool. They have a whole concierge who really just like does historic tours and really leans into that. If you go to the Seelbach, there's a whole thing on it. But really, really cool hotel, great bar. The rooms there have been updated, but you can still definitely get that very old school vibe, which is really cool.
Yeah, I remember not the last time, but the previous
Mhm,
time when we went to Louisville, you stayed
mhm,
in that hotel and we
mhm,
did go to the bar.
mhm,
I remember the bar being
mhm,
very, classic,
mhm,
1900s
mhm,
Gilded Age type
mhm.
of bar. It was really elegant, very
Mhm.
nice. I do remember you getting a pour. I do remember me getting a cocktail, probably an old fashioned because I'm a
Mhm,
sucker for an old fashioned. They do also offer, flights,
mhm,
different flights for the different pours. It's a nice place just to just to go, not just
Mhm.
because it's a bar, but it felt that it was a historic destination.
Yeah.
The kind of place where you go for the to absorb that decor, the spirit selection that they
Mhm.
have, the whole combination of
Mhm.
story rich, place. That was a very nice visit.
Yeah, and, it's just north of, 4th Street Live, which is
Mhm.
kind of they have, like, a little entertainment district where they've closed off a couple of blocks to pedestrian traffic right there, and you've got some, like, piano bars and music stages, and they do a lot of, like, the Friday night kinda stuff there. Uh, but, if you keep going up that stretch, there's a couple of historic hotels in that stretch too, so if you keep going on up 4th Street a little farther, you're gonna run into the Brown Hotel, which opened in 1923, and that's got its own sort of history there with, notable folks who stayed there. It's got a lot of that turn of the century decor and, architecture. It's like a Gregorian revival, so it's got all the fancy, columns and molding and all that.
Yeah, what they call old world opulence.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
elegant and a bit pretentious,
Yeah.
but really nice. A little bit pretentious, but really nice. It's a really nice hotel. And also do have a bar, I believe so. I did go to their restaurant. We'll talk about that in a little bit because I mean, when you go to Louisville and you want to experience their cuisine and their special dishes, one of the things that you're gonna see everywhere, and if you go, you want to experience it, is go
Mm.
to the Brown Hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. That was one of the reasons the principal reasons I went there was their namesake. So,
Yep.
yeah. All right. So then they were moving on. There's another hotel that I think would be remiss if we don't mention it, and it's very, very cool. Might be the coolest hotel in Louisville. I haven't stayed there, but we have visited it, and that's the 21st Century, the 21C Museum Hotel right on Whiskey Row. It's, like, practically across the street from Michter's. Really, really cool space. Like I said, likely the most unique hotel in Louisville. It's a boutique chain hotel, so I think they've got, like, 6 or 8 of these sprinkled around the country. If you go to their website, you can see all the rooms look super luxe, and it was founded by these kind of eccentric art aficionados, and also, again, another pet friendly hotel. And each of these hotels has a different theme, but it's very cool. The thing that's really awesome about this, right? So you come for the hotel, you stay for the museum. So they have an art museum that's free, that's attached to the hotel, and all the hotels have this. That's this museum piece, and it's open 24 hours a day to anyone that wants to go. So that's got to be one of the coolest things. Even if you stop in just to go to the museum and check out the artwork and the rotating exhibits, it's totally worth a visit.
Yeah, the 21C hotel. It's not a typical hotel
Mhm.
as you were saying.
Mhm.
It's a boutique hotel plus a contemporary art museum, and in this case, plus a very nice restaurant. So for guests or for non-guests who want to wander on their art installations, they have curated art galleries throughout the building, in the lobbies, in the hallways, in the elevators, in the bathrooms. So you'll see it everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, and you can't miss it if you're on Main Street. Just look for the giant gold painted David. That's like a 2-story tall, statue of the David in gold in all of its glory.
Yep. And we're talking about all its glory.
Yeah. Wait, folks, just a heads up, we will put links to all these hotels and restaurants, everything we're talking about will show up. They'll be in the show notes. And I may also include a couple of recipes here or links to the recipes for a couple of the things we're going to talk about when we get to the restaurants and bar section here in a minute. But yeah, so check out the show notes for all that great information.
All right. So we were just talking about the 21C hotel, 21st Century Hotel.
Mhm.
And so let's talk about food because hey, one can't live on bourbon alone.
Mhm.
So why not talk about their restaurant,
Mhm.
Proof of Maine? We ate this last time we ate at Proof of Maine. The whole group of us, the 12 of us, again located in the 21 Sea
Mhm,
Museum
mhm,
Hotel. The restaurant opened, I want to say maybe like 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago,
mhm,
somewhere around there. The concept of the restaurant, I guess, it also blends the American contemporary cuisine with the art filled space of the museum because again the museum it's on the side of the restaurant itself. What stood out for me was the decor. One of the things that stood out for me anyway was the decor, which is eccentric and fun. As you mentioned, the owners and designers made sure that the whole meal is an experience.
mhm,
This last time I had the pork chop dinner, which I think it was cooked perfectly, and two cocktails. I did get their signature old fashioned. Call me an old fashioned guy, but yes, I went with that. Their take, however, it include absinthe, which was very interesting. And they also got their take on the paper plane, which is a whiskey based drink.
mhm,
Their twist was using Angel's Envy plus hibiscus, which gave it that kind of rosy hue and a little
mhm.
acidity, which was very refreshing and not too sweet. I remember before dinner, we had a table full of starters. Again, we were 12 of us. So we had a little bit of everything on their menu.
Yeah, I think collectively, the nice thing about having a big group like that is I think collectively we tried almost everything on their menu, literally almost everything on the menu that day. Um, I had that roast chicken, which was fantastic. You think, "Oh, it's just roast chicken's kinda boring, pedestrian," but it was really fantastic. They had with the herbs and the spicing and the yeah, whatever they did to it was fantastic. But, yeah, most of their stuff is locally sourced. That's all of that a lot of that sort of farm to table movement. Not everything, obviously, was locally sourced. They had a few seafood dishes and things that obviously, they couldn't get there, but a lot of their stuff is fairly local. And, I loved, our buddy that was with us, he got a Manhattan flight. I don't know if you
Oh, yeah,
remember seeing that
yeah,
with Camp
the
yeah,
tiny
yeah.
Manhattan glasses.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
the little itty bitty Manhattan glasses, they're about, like, a third the size of a normal pour, but they have, like, different variations or spins on the Manhattan, and, like, you could get a flight of, little Manhattans. It was the coolest thing, and, like, the really neat, glassware and everything, so that was really cool.
Yeah, another thing of the
Mhm,
restaurant is that
mhm,
as you mentioned, most of their ingredients are locally sourced, and they
mhm,
are always changing their menu.
mhm,
Because the previous time that we went to Louisville, I remember you did go to a Google Dolls concert, and I did end up going to
yeah,
the restaurant with Milagros, and the other time I got this a Kentucky Fried Rabbit. So their take on the Kentucky Fried Chicken, of course, but with rabbit, which was, and I'm not a rabbit guy, but this was crispy, succulent. So I have to admit, it
mhm.
was pretty darn good.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I think you won that night. Versus the, Proof on Main versus the Goo Goo Dolls. No offense to the Goo Goo Dolls, but I think you won. Yeah, no, but the other thing I'll say, they do have their whiskey list. I don't know if you looked at their pour list of what they had, the in the bar. They had a pretty impressive whiskey menu, but I guess you expect that in most bars in
Yeah.
Louisville, but they had a very robust single barrel like pick where they had their own bottles of bottlings of stuff from places, and their wine list was pretty
Oh,
respectable
that
too.
that was impressive, I have to
Yeah.
say. One of the things that if you want to go and if you're not staying in the 21st Century
Mhm,
Hotel and you wanna go to Proof of Maine, I'd
mhm,
recommend you get a reservation before because it's a very popular destination for foodies. It's a big restaurant, but it's worth to get a reservation so you
mhm.
know that you're gonna get a table there.
Yeah, especially if you got a larger group traveling with you, but yeah, a lot like, visiting the distilleries and stuff, get your reservations early and often, and frankly, even if you think, "Oh, maybe we wanna do this, we're not sure," if you pick a night, book the reservation, you can always cancel
Or
later, but
cancel.
you'd rather have it in your back pocket in case you wanna go, and then if plans change, you can cancel it.
Yep, yep,
Easy enough. Yeah.
true.
Yeah, so moving right along, We have La Bode Bodeguita de Mima?
Yep,
So, I know this is a you'll have to help me with my Spanish here a little bit, Gabe. I'm gathering this is sort of a derivation of a wine shop or a wine merchant or grocery store. Is it the diminutive? Is it like a little bar? Like a
it's a little
little wine
bar.
bar?
Yeah,
Little
a
bar, okay.
bodeguita means
Uh-huh,
little
uh-huh,
wine bar.
uh-huh,
And it's a Cuban
uh-huh,
restaurant which is
uh-huh,
near Whiskey Row in the East Market District of Louisville. And a fun fact, which I didn't know until the first time I went to Louisville, Louisville is one of the US cities with the highest Cuban expats after
mhm.
Miami. The restaurant is vibrant, has a nice menu, it has all your typical Cuban fare, and plus they have great mojitos.
Ah. Absolutely. Yeah, you can't miss it. Like, it's a bright yellow house in Nulu, like a stone's throw from Rabbit Hole. It stands out. You can see it from Rabbit Hole, actually, I think. But yeah, bright yellow. Looks like it was like a fancy, like, old house, like 2 or 3-story house back in the day. I would say like a very like Havana feel, and it's got like the big fans and the hardwood, the dark hardwood floors and the yeah,
When you go in, it's
yeah,
just like a party, I would
yeah,
say, and it's a big place because they have that big house. You also have tables in the back. So this is one of
yeah,
the restaurants that you'll probably get a table even if you don't have a reservation. I remember the last time we went there, we only went once, but the previous time I actually did end up going twice, which is, I mean, I'm not from Cuba. I'm not Cuban. I'm not a Cuban food expert, but I'd say their food has a
uh-huh,
lot of flavor,
yeah.
and it does taste very
Mhm.
authentic.
The was it the lechon that we
The
had?
lechon, oh my
That was so good.
gosh. Oh my goodness, yes. And I have to repeat it, the mojitos is
Yeah,
like, even though I haven't been to Havana myself either, it's like you are right there drinking your mojito by the beach. It's
yeah,
so good.
and they had a bunch of different spins on the mojito
Oh
too. They
yeah.
had, like,
Yep.
at least 3 or 4 different types of like, of their variations, which was really good, yeah. And oddly, the other thing, if you're there and you're not, like, looking for your typical, like, mojitos or, or bourbon, they actually had a lot of wines from Spain and Portugal on the menu. And some South American, some Chilean wines and some other stuff, and a few sort of unusual beers that you wouldn't
Yep.
typically find at a
True.
bar. So, like, there are a couple of hidden gems there too for your like, mojito drinkers and non-bourbon folks. There's some interesting wines and beers that are kind of a bonus, if you will.
Yeah. Another restaurant that we did go to, not this last time, but the
Mhm.
previous time, what Duck
Oh, yeah,
Crows,
Doc Crow. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Duck
after,
Crow.
the Old Crow whiskey guy. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's now we're jumping into coming back to American culture, American
Mhm,
palate with Southern and barbecue
mhm.
dishes. I remember having their pulled pork sandwich, their mac and cheese, and they both were very solid.
Yeah, and that's right off, Whiskey Row again, so
Correct.
right next door to Old Forester, actually. They have an oyster bar there too. They do oysters on the half shell as you come in. There's a whole raw bar there, but I'm always a little iffy about oysters in landlocked states.
True. True. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like me. I'm Peruvian, so anytime I see ceviche in a landlocked place, I don't know. Ceviche is supposed to be really fresh fish, but hey, let's give it a try. But I have to say, Duck Kraus, I mean, impressed me. The ambience
Mhm,
really leans into the southern, ambience with exposed brick.
mhm.
It has wood, a smoky house vibes. An interior, I guess that it feels like a cross between distillery warehouse and a smokehouse. Well,
It reminds me of some of those, it had a little bit of this sort of like for folks who've been to DC, it has a little bit of like the old Ebbet vibe to it, or the Round Robin bar in the Intercontinental. It's the dark wood and the brass and it's that kind of old school kind of feel to it. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, we have been talking about places with some elegant
Mhm,
historic vibes, or maybe a little cookie in the sense of see hotel, or more refined whiskey house vibes. I think for Duck Crow, it brings more of a down to earth kind of authentic side of Louisville. I think it was a good stop. It has good food, good a good place to also try some of their some of the bourbon because they do have some bourbon there. So it's a good stop.
Yeah, they have a pretty good, whiskey menu there too, yeah, so and it's also good if you're just hitting Whiskey Row and you're like, "I need a snack, I need to grab lunch," you can just duck in. They're they're pretty big, I mean, in grand scheme of things, I mean, they're a fairly good sized place, so probably easy another one that's easy to just kinda show up without a reservation during the day.
Yep, correct.
Alright, so popping back over to Nulu for a moment here. One of the really cool places we kind of stumbled into, and it's literally just up the street from La Barraguita. It's is the last refuge, and we didn't really know about this, and it just kind of dropped in our lap in this last trip, and we kind of stumbled onto it, which is one of my favorite things. I love like the random finds. But Last Refuge, which is a cool bar. It's in a former church in Nulu. So again, right there in that kind of Nulu neighborhood, close to Rabbit Hole and the Whiskey Thief and some other stuff over there. But it's in this kind of fairly big kind of complex or building that used to be a church that was built in like the late 1800s, 1880-ish German Methodist church that, of course, hasn't been a church for a while now. But very, very cool. It's got like that Gothic revival kind of feel with a lot of the space inside. That was really, really cool. It's got a very cool vibe to it. I could just imagine like we went during the day and you see all this kind of original architecture and stuff's kind of preserved. But and it's kind of interesting. So during the day, so the room we were in had these really cool big stained glass windows and it had these floor to ceiling shelves for bottles and all of this stuff. And during the day it was kind of cool because you could see the light coming in thing through the stained glass, but at night with the light, the backlighting and everything, this would be a truly magical kinda place to be.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think it's
Mhm,
one of the coolest bars that I've been so far, not only in Louisville, but so far throughout that I've been in. Again, like you mentioned, it's built inside a church. So it has all that grandiose architecture. And the main bar, as you were describing, it's amazing with hundreds of bottles adorning the walls. We did go to the bar after La Bodeguita,
mhm.
so we didn't have much room for us to explore their menu, but they do have very good desserts there. We did try a couple the last time, and I don't know if you remember the names of those desserts because they have quirky, funny names with a twist of religious words there. We did get the confused Catholic,
Yep, I remember that. That was that panna cotta
the panna
thing.
cotta.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah, that was
yep,
so good.
yep. And then we also have their sweet Jesus bourbon balls.
Sweet Jesus. If you love chocolate, those were slamming, but, like, you could only really do one. Like, you need
Yeah.
that's a splittable thing. Yeah.
Oh, definitely, but it was totally worth it.
Oh my gosh, that was good. Do you remember the drink that you got too? The drinks were really good too. They had some fun twist on stuff.
Yep, they did have that drinks. I don't remember. I think most of their pours didn't they come from Heaven's Door? However, they have pours from all over as well.
Yeah, I think you had the rhubarb thing, something yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Some sort of a rhubarb old fashioned, which was kind of interesting.
Yes.
And I did the Nun's Habit, which I'm trying to remember what was in that. Maybe mine was more of the old fashioned. Yours had a or there were variations on it. It was really good though. They really lean into that whole like religious
Yep,
iconography, yeah,
yep,
with everything. But yeah, it's really cool. So a lot of the bottles and everything there that look really cool. I mean, really cool with like the shelving, and they have all sorts of stuff from everywhere. And they were working on like a locker program
mhm.
at the time, which
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
remember. They were telling us about that, where like if you had rare bottles or whatever, you could buy like your private reserve. And so, if you wanted to have a fancy night out or if you were entertaining clients or something, if it's like a business thing, you could take them and they would have these bottles they could pull out of your locker, your private stash, as it were. But yeah, so very cool. And they do live music too, apparently.
Yep. Yeah, we didn't experience that at night. It would have been nice to go. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe the next time we go
Yeah,
there, we go for a visit at night just to,
yeah.
pay for our sins, I guess.
There is also a restaurant attached to it, so that could be interesting to make a night of it, you know?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. So, very cool. And, you know, the one thing I'll say before we get off the topic of bars, so a couple of things. So, one, you are jumping back, you were right about the Heaven's Door, you mentioned that. So, it is connected to Bob Dylan's brand, so
Mhm.
that's the same kind of parent, and they've got a I don't know if it's open yet, but they were working on a new distillery for that brand, for the Heaven's Door brand, out in Pleasureville, which is a great name, Pleasureville, Kentucky, and its own land that was originally owned by Daniel Boone's brother, by Waddy Boone. Yeah, and so the pictures I've seen look really, really cool, and that we're gonna have to add that to the list next time we go back because it looks like it would be a very cool experience.
Pleasure.
Pursuit, which is very cool. Oh, and they had the space in the lower level, the speakeasy at the Bourbon Pursuit guys. Anyhow, that was really, really, really nice space. They've transformed it into like a pop up right now for the holidays called the Lodge, like the ski lodge, and they've got like themed drinks. But love that kind of vibe, that kind of it's a dimly lit, old school, exposed brick, very like speakeasy vibe is very, very cool. And they have
Yeah.
all of their old bottle releases. They do these episodic releases of single barrels, and they've got all those available by the pour. So if you're a big Bourbon Pursuit fan, it's an excellent stop.
Yeah, so if you go there, you're gonna see their whole, I wanna say, like, it's a book where they
Mhm,
have over 100 expressions of their Pursuit spirits
mhm.
on the shelf. I remember because I did write that down. I ordered the Pursuit, the number 21, which was, Candied Caramel's profile, which for me at that time, and we're gonna talk about the pecans later on, but for me, that was one of the themes that I had on my head when I went to Louisville just to get the candied pecans
Right.
from Louisville. And then I had the number 9, which had a, chocolate croissant profile, which was one of their dessert-like bourbon pours that they have. It's just perfect after dinner because we did go there after our dinner in, Proof of Maine.
Yeah, and it's also nice they have other cocktails too, like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
besides just the bourbon, like, they have their spin on margarita, and I forget there's some other things too, but, like, if you're not again, if you're traveling with, like, non-bourbon people, not whiskey
Mhm.
people, they have other really tasty stuff there too,
Yep.
and their bartenders are really top notch, they do some really cool stuff, so I think they got some really awesome talent down there.
Yep. Yep, and now going back to the candied pecans or, bourbon pecans, I think we have to talk about art eatables,
Yes.
which, for me, it was something this last trip because I didn't go with Milagros, but the previous time I did go with her, and one of the highlights, for eating for her was their, in Louisville, they have their a twist on their candied pecans that they have on the south because they do include some bourbon on their candied pecans. So I was looking everywhere. Where can I have the bourbon candied pecans? And somebody told us you have to go to Art Eatables, which is also on Main Street. So this last time I knew where I was going and what I was getting Milagros as a souvenir. Also, fun fact, they not only have chocolates and candied pecans, but they also have a small bar in the back of the store.
Yeah, we had some, tasty pours. I think we did 4 pours each, like, small sample
Yep.
size, and I was surprised, yeah, they got the bottle shop and everything back there as well. There are a few things, like, I hadn't tried, they weren't anything super fancy. I'm trying to remember, we had the Frank August, which I think
Mhm.
was your favorite o of the group, and then there were I don't remember, we had 2 from True Story from the True Story brand, which is the new Wes Henderson
Mhm.
venture, you know, Angels Envy, you know, family. Those were good. They had the barrel finished bourbon and a barrel finish, um, and the rye was good. So it's interesting. The barrel finished rye, which had the amberana, um, the Brazilian oak essentially
Yep.
finished on
Yep.
it, and I usually like that. I know everybody's gonna be like, "He's such a tater." but I love I love that like cinnamon kind of that oatmeal cinnamon, that kind of effect that it gives to it. It was interesting because when I got the pour there, and it was absolutely fantastic on the True Story. And I got a bottle of that and got it home, and the bottle is kind of funky. It's not clear. You can't see what's in it. So I think they kind of had a swing and a miss on the packaging there. Anyway, but the pour, it was interesting. When I got the bottle home, I had and I did pours from it. And maybe with a little oxidation, this will change when it
Probably,
breathes a little bit.
probably.
But I get this kind of burnt plastic note, or this hot plastic note on the nose, fresh out of the bottle, but the bottle she was pouring from was, like, maybe half full, so I'm wondering if that will,
The aeration, yeah,
yeah, will come
it will
off
change it.
when it breathes a bit, because it's kind of an off-putting note, but I didn't get it the first time we had it. I'm
Mhm.
hoping it will dissipate in time. But yeah, very cool store, super nice people, a lot of unique kind of souvenirs and chocolates and bourbon balls. And I mean, it's a really fantastic store, right? Again, right there on Main. I'm trying to remember where they are on Main. They're kind of down towards the Louisville Slugger end.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
But before we move on, I'm realizing we didn't talk about the hot brown.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we were when we were discussing the Brown Hotel was their restaurant and their offerings. So, one of the things is this classic sandwich or open face sandwich that they
Mhm.
have, which is called the hot brown, which was designed as a more, I guess, glamorous uh, cousin to the late night alternative usual, their ham and cheese
Mhm.
sandwich.
Mhm.
So this is an open face sandwich, which is built on a thick toast. Think about like
Yeah.
Texas toast
Yeah. Yeah. Big,
with
thick slices.
big
Yeah.
slice of toast topped with roasted turkey breast, some tomatoes, and is smothered in a sauce. I think it's a creamy type
Yeah,
sauce.
like a creamy Mornay, kinda like a Béarnaise, not quite the same, but
That's right.
similar, and don't forget the bacon. Gotta
Uh,
have the bacon.
and the bacon, because then you have to broil the sandwich
Uh-huh.
so it the sauce melts and it bubbles, and then you finish it with crispy bacon. I mean,
Yeah.
that's right there. You had me at bacon and at Marnay sauce.
Yeah, it's excellent. I'll put the link to the original recipe from, the Brown Hotel there, but yeah, they used to have these big dances. It was a very, like a big thing. Go out on, like, Saturday night, they'd have music, they'd have dancing, live music, all this. And then you would get into the wee hours of the night, and you're like, for us, it'd be like hitting Adams Morgan here in DC back in the day. You'd be like, I need my big slice. I'm gonna go find my pizza or my falafel or my burritos or whatever. They would they would go to the little
For the hot
restaurant,
brown.
yeah, for the hot brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, but this thing is huge. You better be hungry. Like
Oh,
this,
yes.
it's massive. You think, oh, it's a sandwich, but this thing is. I mean, it takes up the whole plate. It's
Yep.
huge. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So I guess
Mm.
going forward, outside of bars and restaurants, I think should be talking also about festivals, special
Mhm.
events,
Mhm.
and probably other non-bourbon tourist draws in
Mhm.
Louisville. I know that they do have their Bourbon and Beyond Festival, which
Mhm.
usually runs in September. So again, when thinking about visiting Louisville, when thinking about getting tickets or getting distillery tours, think about these special dates as well. They have their Kentucky Bourbon Festival, which also runs in September every year.
Mhm.
And of course, the Derby. You cannot talk about Kentucky without talking about Derby festivals and Derby festivities.
And, September's a super busy month also for Louisville and the Kentucky area, because they also have the Louder Than Life Festival, which is like you think of country music or bluegrass or what have you, but Louder Than Life is like a metal and rock. Like it was going on actually while we were there this last time. So it
Mhm.
was kind of this kind of a funky vibe. You got all these, metalheads
Yeah.
who were like
Yes.
floating
Yes.
around. Yeah, yeah. But, Yeah, and then, of course, yeah, exactly, the Derby weekend in May, that first Saturday in May is always and the week or so leading up to it are always huge.
Yeah. So I guess pick your travel window, check
Mhm,
the festival calendar, book early for flights, hotels. You want to go for the Bourbon Festival, go in September. You're going to see a lot of people there. You want to see lighter crowds, but still, getting the vibe of
mhm.
Louisville, maybe getting to the Derby, consider spring or early summer.
Yeah, yeah. Couple of other places, and I'll just these are, like, get a lot of coverage, right? So I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time mentioning them, but the if you're downtown, a couple of easy things to drop into that you don't have to get pre-reservations for or anything, when you're visiting, if you just have a few days and you just wanna do an add-on. So the Louisville Slugger Factory is great if you're a baseball fan. They have, like, a whole little museum piece to it, which is really cool, and then, of course, you see them milling the bats, and it'll tell you which baseball player they're making baseball bats for that day and everything, and it's kind of a really cool experience, and, like, if you're real super geeky, you can get a bat with your name, like, engraved on it, like, you can get a bat milled for you with your name and everything on it as a souvenir. So that's kind of a cool visit you can do in an hour or so, pop in. And then across the street from there practically is the Fraser Museum, which is very cool. And it really is technically like the first stop for the Bourbon Trail. You have the book and you're getting stamped and all that. That kind of starts there. And they have some really cool exhibits. And it's not just about bourbon, but they cover stuff like, Muhammad Ali and who, for those that don't know, is originally from there. And then, a bunch of other like really cool historical presentations there centering around Louisville. But really, really cool. They had some really cool presentations. I think they may be permanent or semi-permanent on like the different distilleries. They had some cool old bottles from distilleries that have gone silent that are, no longer in operation and some stuff like that. It's a really cool visit if you have time to drop in there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. And on the other side of town, in the other side, going into East Market District, Nulu. It's known for its concentration of independent boutiques, small art galleries, vintage shops, some specialty stores, locally made food goods. The vibe is a mix of creative, modern retail. It's very walkable. You'll see some studios, small studios, artisanal gift shops, some bakeries, and even some restaurants and even some um, bars as well. And if you go a little bit farther down in Nulu, you can get into Butchertown Market, which sits all the way on the other side of Louisville. But it houses a lot of retail as well, light manufacturing and creative shops. One of the things that really got my attention the last time I was able to visit Butchertown Market was their Louisville Glassworks, which is home to Glass Studio. So you'll see a lot of art around that. If you want to get a cool souvenir for you or for a loved one, it's somewhere that you might want to go and check out. One thing though, they close on Sundays. So because the last time I went, I was there on a Sunday, was the last day they closed. But it's a good thing to go, place to go if you are there for another day other than a Sunday, of course.
Yeah, always a good tip to, check schedules when you're traveling because depending on where you go and the variety of, whatever happens in the local destinations, always check, stuff closes on random days depending on where you are in the business cycles in those areas. So,
Yep.
yeah, sometimes
Yep.
you'll be surprised, especially if you're coming from a major metropolitan area like we are from and things are open, almost all the time, like practically every day and, late hours. A lot of places, if you're getting off the beaten path, they don't stay open as late or they close on random days. But seem random to us at least. So,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
All right. So there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our Louisville trilogy, inside town distilleries, outside of town adventures, and everything else that makes this city such a rich and fun destination. Even if you're in your party, you have some people who are not there for the bourbon. You'll have food, you have culture, you have bars, restaurant festivals, and plenty of walkable experiences.
Absolutely. So, if you, by the way, if you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more, by all means, please give us a like and a follow and share with any other of your friends and fellow whiskey lovers. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And of course, we are on Instagram at The Whiskey Tourist as well. So, you know what time it is, Gabe?
Oh, yes, here it is. Here it comes.
It's the last call.
The last call
Last
right there.
call. So what was your favorite pour, your favorite or in this case, your favorite experience? What was your favorite thing of all this kind of non-distillery stuff that we did?
Okay, my favorite non-distillery focus, I guess, experience in this episode. I mean, I went to Louisville because of bourbon, so I will be remiss of not saying that one of my my last pour would be the last refuge. Not just because of the drinks, but I'm gonna go for the desserts. My dessert, the panna cotta, which I think was passion fruit and mango panna cotta. Oh my gosh, that was so good. It was such a nice end to the meal that we had earlier, and and a good wrap up to the weekend that we had with our friends. So that's for me. What about
Yeah.
you?
So yes, I would say actually the same. I was thinking that, but for different reason. So the last
Okay,
refuge was probably my favorite thing, but it was so the whiskey was great, the food, the desserts, and all that were nice. But I really loved it for the randomness that it was something we stumbled onto, and it was one of those like magical kind of not maybe not magical, but one of those really cool things that you remember. I feel like more than stuff that you program and that you plan, like, I'm gonna
sure.
go here, I'm gonna do this. The stuff that really sticks with me are the things that randomly stick out. So, like, like, the fact that we just kinda stumbled onto it unplanned, that was just kinda tacked it on, and it turned out to be this incredibly awesome, really cool experience, and, like, chatting with the bartender, it was really cool, like, the whole vibe, it was, just sort of awesome randomness of it all, which was cool and, like, made it maybe the most memorable stop of the
That
trip.
is true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true because we didn't even think about going there.
Mhm.
I mean,
Mm. Yeah.
we knew that it was there. We just
Mhm.
didn't think that we were gonna have the time to go.
Yeah.
So it was so nice that at last minute we decided just to go there for dessert and a drink and to pull the strings of my old Catholic heart, I guess.
And a close second, though, was the hot tub on the roof
Oh,
of Hotel Bourbon
oh
as I
yes,
was, like, resting my weary bones and detoxing on that Saturday night.
that was so good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
second that. I
Yeah.
second that.
Alright. Well, with that, cheers, everyone. We're off to the next pour.
Catch you at the next stop.